The darkest symbol of the former GDR is the Stasi, the country's almighty Ministry for State Security. This organization had built East Germany into a police state, with a dossier on every third citizen. These were used to harass anyone who showed any sign of critical thinking or opposition. The Stasi was modeled after the Soviet NKVD, but quickly surpassed it in the sophistication of its methods. In this episode of How It Was, we will recall the history of the most effective intelligence service in the Eastern Bloc. You will learn how a mass surveillance system was developed in the GDR and how Stasi agents infiltrated the political elite in the neighbouring Federal Republic of Germany, FRG. We will also recall what the Stasi had in common with the Palestine Liberation Organization and how East German agents used gaslighting to neutralize dissidents. The Ministry for State Security, Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, popularly known as Stasi, was established on February 5, 1950. It was created under the supervision of the Soviet Ministry of State Security, the MGB. Even when it firmly got its feet and took control of the whole country, the Soviet officers continued to supervise their German colleagues. The first head of the Stasi was Wilhelm Zeisser, who had a long relationship with the Soviet authorities back in the 1920s. He collaborated with Soviet intelligence. During the 3 years of his leadership, Zeisser managed to open Stasi offices throughout the GDR and increase the staff by almost 10 times. However, it soon became clear that the new secret service was not yet effective enough. In 1953, a powerful economic crisis broke out in the country. On June 17th, a popular uprising began in the GDR. The Stasi, which was supposed to strangle the rebellion in its inception, failed to cope with the task. Finally, protests of hundreds of thousands of outraged workers were crushed by troops of the USSR and the GDR. The ruling Communist Party, known as the Socialist Unity Party of Germany, was scared of the riots. In 1957, Erich Milka became the head of secret police who led the Stasi until its dissolution in 1989. Milka was a staunch admirer of Stalin and Dzerzhinsky. He combined communist convictions with frankly lordly manners. For example, he drew up for his secretary instructions on how to serve breakfast properly. It was Milka who developed a system of comprehensive surveillance over virtually every East German person. The Stasi headquarters were located in East Berlin. It was a vast complex with almost 50 buildings and thousands of offices. From there, the Stasi managed branches throughout the country, secret facilities and safe houses for clandestine meetings. The number of employees grew steadily. In 1950, the secret police employed 1,100 people. By 1953, already 10,000.
So now y'all have to remember, this was all just in East Stasi Germany, and in 1950 they had 1,100 working for them. 3 years from that, they were at 10,000. Now this program is global now, so imagine how much it has grown since the Pentagon had announced that it had a secret army of 60,000. This was 2 years ago, and we're going to dive into that too.
And by 1961, 20,000. In 1989, the Stasi had 91,000 full-time employees, not counting the nearly 190,000 who worked unofficially. If we sum this up, we get about 280,000. That is every 57th inhabitant of the GDR working for the ubiquitous Secret Service.
So they said 1 in every 57 citizens was an agent. Imagine what that is like now on a global scale. Remember, this was just based in East Germany alone. 1 out of 57 citizens, one of them was guaranteed to be an agent. Out of, I believe they said there were 16 million citizens. That's crazy.
This knowledge is based on the documents that the regime did not manage to destroy. Some historians say there were 500,000 unofficial collaborators, and one former Stasi worker cited 2 million employees. Don't forget that the overall population was about 16 million. For the Stasi officers spied on the inhabitants of the GDR, violating every human right. They tracked down dissidents, followed them, tapped phone calls, and intercepted letters. The agents were armed with advanced spy equipment, bugs, and mini cameras. The Ministry for State Security initiated criminal cases against dissidents, expelled them from the country, threw them in prisons, and staged show trials. For all the years of its existence, the GDR secret police arrested about 250 to 300,000 people. The Stasi even had special prisons for dissidents. They were placed in cells isolated from the world where neither light nor sound could penetrate. Sometimes free thinkers spent years in such cells without accusation of trial just to keep them isolated. However, sometimes the secret police did not resort to arrests. For instance, if the dissident was a too well-known or significant personality. In such cases, other methods of influence were used. For example, the Stasi spread rumors about supposed alcoholism or homosexuality of their victims, or their support of the Nazi ideology. One of the most sophisticated psychological techniques of struggle against free thinkers was the Zersetzung, German for decomposition. It was the targeted gradual use of various means of subtle psychological torture. Zersetzung involved methods like breaking into people's homes and rearranging things, taking laundry or food, things that would make the target question the nature of what was happening. Other practices included calling in the middle of the night from unidentified phone numbers or sending strange objects in anonymous packages. It could also be as simple as being turned down for a job or a permit to travel over and over again. The goal was to spread anxiety and fear, make the victims doubt their mental health, this is called gaslighting, and secretly destroy people's self-confidence, for example, by damaging their reputation. As a result, many victims of Zersetzung not only quit the opposition activities, but also indeed went crazy, drank themselves to death, or committed suicide. The Stasi sought to control all spheres of public life. They opened all letters and parcels coming from the FRG, and thousands of employees listened to telephone calls from West Germany every day. They paid particular attention to the northern regions of the GDR. It was there that the workers' uprising of 1953 began, and the guardians of ideological purity remembered this well. The Stasi agents worked at every enterprise in the GDR, even in the smallest towns. Most often, these were ordinary workers informing the secret police about protest moods or activities. In schools, Stasi officers recruited teachers, and pensioners helped them in apartment buildings. The reasons why people agreed to cooperate with the secret police were several. Some believed that this would help to bring the victory of socialism closer. Others were demoralized, intimidated, or blackmailed. Still, others chased material goods.
Did y'all hear that? How they explain on how they hire ordinary people, even in small towns, even teachers, just to inform. This is the exact same program, although we know this though, but just for those who's new to the channel, I see I done gained a few subs, but this is the exact program that us targeted individuals speak on with this whole secret police. And it's crazy because some of these people really think that they're doing a noble thing.
As in the entire communist bloc, there was a shortage of available goods in the GDR, and intelligence agents were provided with spacious apartments and cars. In addition, they received packages from the FRG, confiscated from the population. The total control of the Stasi over the country was not a secret for the society. People found out about it pretty early on. Young people were closely monitored. About 6% of the documented Stasi collaborators were under 18. They reported not only on political oppositionists, but also on those who could be recruited. Since no one knew the names of the agents, young people plunged into the abyss of total mutual distrust that accompanied them throughout their lives. Paranoia was widespread among Stasi employees themselves. They spied on and denounced colleagues, friends, and even family members, and of course they constantly monitored each other.
Some people do it for the material things and the free ride in life, and others do it to push the socialist and communist agenda, right? But you see how they say they even have the gang stalkers watching the gang stalkers. So not only are they watching us, but they're also watching each other. So really, it's just they created this whole web of paranoia. This is wicked. And now you fast forward to the day, excuse me, we got the exact same thing going on. Literally. Now imagine, it's global now. Imagine how much recruiting they're doing.
Moving on now, the Pentagon has a secret army of 60,000 people who carry out assignments under false identities in person and online, according to an investigation by Newsweek. The report says that these soldiers, civilians and contractors work under assumed identities and carry out top-secret domestic and overseas missions for the US government. The Newsweek report says that this secret army is 10 times the size of the CIA's clandestine forces. The force includes NSA agents, cybersecurity experts and special forces, and is serviced by around 130 private companies. It is supported by dozens of secretive government agencies at an annual cost of $900 million US, according to the report. This secret army specializes in cutting-edge espionage techniques and functions under a program called signature reduction. A Department of Defense spokesperson told Newsweek that signature reduction isn't an official term and only describes measures taken to protect operations. This technique essentially gives the US deniability on sensitive missions should agents be compromised. Agents are highly trained and use sophisticated devices to carry out operations. The Newsweek piece reported that agents are taught to create mold and casting techniques so they can alter their age, gender and weight. The Newsweek report says at least 30,000 of the United States' signature reduction forces were special forces operating in war zones around the world, from Pakistan to West Africa. Agents also operated in North Korea and Iran. The ability to carry out stealth field operations is becoming a key priority for the United States forces.
Problem solve anywhere in the world in 18 hours. You understand what everybody's going through.
America has the most powerful military in the world. It can demonstrate authority in any part of the world, in any theatre of war, whether it is the land or the air or the high seas. No one in the world can miss American deployments in foreign lands, but America also has a secret and undercover army, an army of 60,000 officers, one that the world knows nothing about. A new report claims these shadow warriors are spread out across the globe, across the world's biggest conflict zones from Pakistan to West Africa. Our next report tells you more about the Pentagon's secret army.
They are low profile. They operate under false identities and disguises, sometimes even behind enemy lines. A new report claims America has some 60,000 clandestine officers. This is the largest undercover force that the world has ever known. This secret army has been created by the US Department of Defense, better known as the Pentagon. Reports say this force is 10 times bigger than the number of the CIA's spies. They carry out domestic and foreign assignments, both in military uniforms and under civilian cover, hiding behind the facade of a private business or even a well-known company. No one knows who these officers are and exactly what they do, because America has never talked about this secret force. Unlike the rest of the American intelligence branches, this secret army hasn't been discussed by the US Congress at all. And the US government may want to keep it that way. But an American publication has managed to access some details. It says more than half of the secret army is engaged as special operations forces. They pursue terrorists in countries like Pakistan and West Africa. Some could even be deployed behind the borders of North Korea and Iran, two countries that are direct adversaries of America. The other wing is of military intelligence specialists. These are collectors. counterintelligence agents and linguists, deployed with a cover identity to protect them. This secret army also has a small but a growing cyber intelligence wing. Sitting behind their computers, they hunt for high-value targets using information in the public domain. They are also involved in influence campaigns on social media. All this may sound like the script of the next spy blockbuster. But if true, none of this should come as a surprise. America is said to have the most extensive and sophisticated intelligence network in the world. The question is this massive secret army even legal? Reports say such an initiative challenges America's domestic laws. It goes against the military code of conduct. Not to mention the Geneva Convention of Human Rights. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.